And I am Sydney. Welcome to the Fisher Monthly News for February. This month, Owen reviews the newest Star Wars movie, Joe McCrae talks about his frightening night lost in the woods. Sarah tells us about the process of maple sugaring, while Cooper gives us the history of JISP. Frankie looks back at 2015. Sydney talks about the upcoming red carpet event, and I talk about Martin Luther King Jr. Next up, Owen reviews Star Wars Episode 7 with his special guest, Mr. Cummings.
Hi, I'm Owen Evans, and I'm here with Mr. Cummings today to talk about the new Star Wars movie. Now, you should remember, this will contain a lot of spoilers to this new Star Wars The Force Awakens movie. So I just skip ahead a few minutes for if you don't want to hear any spoilers. But anyway, so I'm here with Mr. Cummings, and today we're going to be talking about the new Star Wars movie. And there are a lot of things to cover, so we should probably do them kind of quickly. So so Han Solo starred in this movie. He was a lot older, but he still looked like Han Solo, don't you think?
Absolutely. It was nice to see the original cast from the first three movies come back again. Yes, they were older, but I think we all were really, really excited and wanting to see them back on the screen again together.
Yeah. And there's also the new girl, Rey, and Finn.
Yeah, Rey was interesting. I feel like Rey is sort of the next Princess Leia. She's that strong female cast member.
Right.
She was very independent, which I think is great. Like, I have a little daughter, so I want her watching movies where the girl doesn't always get rescued, but she actually is the one doing the rescuing.
Right.
And Finn is a little bit trickier. Finn, I don't know how he fits into the story yet.
Right.
Because I don't know if he's force sensitive. He wasn't really good with the lightsaber. He wasn't really good at fixing things on the Millennium Falcon, so I don't know where he fits in yet. But I like this character. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Right. There's also the fact that about the new First Order, the new First Order.
Yeah. So I think we all expected the Empire to be dead after the Death Star got blown up, so they had to bring like a bad guy group, a bad guy entity back somehow. So I think the First Order is going to be pretty good at that. What's the woman, Captain Phasma, I think is her name?
Mm-hmm.
I've read that she's going to become a much bigger role in the second one, because Finn kind of made her look a little bit foolish in the first one. So so Episode 8, I think she's supposedly coming back with a bigger role. And I think we'll see some bad guyness out of that character.
He wants some revenge.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Now, I have some theories, if you don't mind that.
I love theories.
I have one theory that Rey is Luke's daughter.
So I've heard that too, and I was expecting through the whole movie for her and Kylo Ren to be brother and sister, because it would kind of match up with the whole Luke and Leia twins being separated, and then I was floored when they made no mention of it. So I've read on the internet a little bit about the possibility of her being Luke's daughter, which is cool. I didn't see any hints or anything to that in the Force Awakens, so that's going to definitely be like out of left field sort of thing that happens. It would be cool, and it would make sense the way that his lightsaber like spoke to her, But that'll be an interesting theory to see if it comes about.
And Luke, when at the end of the movie, when she was giving him the lightsaber, he wasn't looking at the lightsaber like, wow, someone found my lightsaber. He was looking at her. And Princess Leia embraced her more, like she was a niece, less
Some sort of a connection.
Yeah.
That, I've seen it twice. I feel like I need to see it a third time, because I didn't notice him looking at her. I just noticed the interaction between them. But that's a really good point. That it was less about him making the decision to join the Resistance again, and more about, oh my gosh, my daughter is standing right here in front of me.
as well as she had a fighter pilot doll. And when she was sitting eating her dinner,
Yep.
she put on an old fighter.
Yeah, an old
pilot,
X-wing hat.
An old X-wing.
That's an
helmet.
interesting theory. I like that a lot. That would be a very cool, like, little sort of nod to that if they do bring that back. So
Right.
yeah.
And do you have any theories of your own?
No, I think the one theory I had was, spoiler alert, Han Solo dies. That was a big shock, and I made it a very long time without finding that out. So I was very upset leaving the movie theater. My wife and I started sort of looking up why this would happen, because I'm like, it's Han Solo. He's the most loved character in the whole series. Why would you kill him off?
Right.
And I found a really interesting article with J.J. Abrams, the director and screenwriter, who said, listen, Darth Vader was like the consummate bad guy. He was the ultimate bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's dead. So how do you create a new bad guy that everybody's going to want to hate? Somebody who's worthy to take over the Sith. And the only way to do that from a writing point of view is to have that person kill one of their most favorite characters, because then it becomes personal. It's like you took this character out of the mix that I had and that I loved, and so now I can really get behind this concept of you're the antagonist. Now I hate you, you know?
Right.
So after reading that explanation, I was like, okay, I can understand that. So I think Kylo is poised to be a pretty good bad guy now. I think going back, Darth Maul from Episode 1, Phantom Menace,
died too early.
fantastic bad guy. And I think you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
One of the best bad guys in the whole franchise, and I cannot believe that George Lucas killed him off at the end of the first episode. It was an epic battle, but he would have been a far better bad guy than General Grievous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I think that's about all, right?
That's it.
So, back to the news desk.
Thanks, Owen. I can't wait to see it. I'm still watching the originals. Now Emma looks at the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Here is Emma's story.
Hi, I'm Emma, and February is Black History Month. Martin Luther King Jr. wanted both black and white people to go to school, to be able to go to school together. He was also a Baptist minister. He was born on January 29th, 1949 in Atlanta, Georgia. He was killed in 1968. The man who killed Mr. King, James Earl Ray, pleaded guilty to his murder. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison. But Mr. King's dream came true, and schools were not told to separate students based on their color. Finally, people could become more equal. Thank you, Mr. King. His I Have a Dream speech was an inspiration to millions of black and white people alike. Now back to the news desk. Martin Luther King Jr. was really an amazing man. Now let's go to Frankie to take a look back at the year 2015.
Hello and welcome. So today I'll be interviewing Mrs. Edmonds to see what she thinks about a 2015 look back. So what was the best part of the year for you?
Well, the best part was I actually got married in October. So that's why I'm Mrs. Edmonds now and not Mrs. Tessier. And we actually got to go to Peru to see Machu Picchu, so that was pretty awesome.
What was the worst part of the year, do you think?
You know, I don't think I had a worst part. It was all pretty good. Good 2015.
And a couple things happened to us at Fisher this year. This year we had the nurse actually retired, and we have actually a new nurse at the school today. And we had the computer room is now the library, and the reading room is now the computer room. And one more thing, that we actually had the jump rope for heart ceremony where we raised up close to $1,000 for the American Heart Association.
It's pretty awesome.
So thank you for watching, and let's go back to the anchor desk. 2015 was my favorite year. Thanks, Frankie. You may remember Joe as the boy who got lost in the woods. Well, here he is to tell the tale of a frightening story in the woods. Here's Joe's story.
A young boy who went missing in the woods of Bennington County has been found alive.
Hugs of relief for family members of 6-year-old Joseph Jojo McCray of Arlington. The young boy disappeared in the woods off Route 7 near Exit 3 in Sunderland while he was hunting with his father and 2 other relatives Saturday afternoon.
On November 24, 2011, I was hunting with my friends and got separated from my group. I was 7 years old and alone in the woods for 19 hours. This is my story. Saturday morning, and it was sunny, but flurry. There were 3 other people with me. We parked the van near Orvis in Arlington and headed into the woods to push some deer. The shooters were someplace else, downhill. Our job was to talk through the woods and push the deer towards the shooters. We spread out about 30 yards apart and started walking. There were 3 kids and 1 adult, and it was noon on Saturday.
They were just walking in a line, trying to drive any deer to waiting members.
After only about 5 minutes walking, I lost sight of the other people. I went across a little stream, then I went uphill and went back. And then I got turned around. I started to panic and looked around for my friends. They were nowhere to be seen. I was really lost. I was heading up a mountain called the Cobble. I thought that the direction I was going would drop and lead me back to the road, but it never did. It led me downhill, but there was no road in sight. I started crying. I was getting really thirsty, so I drank from a stream. Luckily, it wasn't frozen. Up higher, there was about a foot of snow. I ate some leaves, too. They were horrible, but chewing them kept my mind occupied. Then I noticed it was starting to get a little dark. I saw a cave, but I was afraid to go in because I didn't know if there were any animals in it. So I walked a little more and laid down underneath a pine tree. I had to clear the snow away before I laid down. I pulled my hat over my face and I hugged the tree. I wondered, had everyone forgotten about me? I had stopped crying and settled down a bit and fell asleep. Under that pine tree in the dark woods, I dreamed. I thought that I was home holding on to my bedpost. Lifted my head and looked around. I was in my room. I saw my brother's bed, my own comfy pillows, and my blankets on the floor. I thought I heard my mom calling my name. I must have fallen asleep because when I opened my eyes, it was morning and I was still in the woods. Everyone tells me that there were helicopters flying around looking for me, but I never heard them. I got up at first light and followed a four-wheeler trail downhill a bit. Then I went right and saw an orange blur in the distance. It was somebody. His name was Hooper Pickering. I ran to him. I was so excited to see someone. I tripped and fell.
They called in backup from nearly 120 crews, from search and rescue teams to Border Patrol, area fire departments, and game wardens.
It's a very large search. Most searches don't last this long. Usually it's 4 to 6 hours, and we found the people in that amount of time.
But McCray wasn't found until around 9:30 Sunday morning, nearly 20 hours after he disappeared. Fire Chief James Pashton says McCray spent most of the night climbing up steep and rocky terrain to the top of a hill. He was found roughly 1 3/4 miles from where he was last seen.
He curled up under a tree last night when it got dark, under a pine tree, and kind of hung out, slept a little bit during the night, got up at daylight, and within a few minutes of him getting up, rescuers had him in sight.
Tears streamed down my face. He took off my boots and my socks and gave me extra socks. A few minutes later, my uncle came up the trail. He hugged me and picked me up and put me on his back. He carried me for a while and put me down. When the trail flattened out, I had military frosting to get my blood sugar back up. It was horrible, but luckily a guy also had some chicken fingers. After I ate those, we kept on moving. Then I heard a loud noise. I thought it was a helicopter, but it wasn't. It was a side-by-side coming toward us. My best friend's dad, Darren Jennings, was driving it. I was put on a stretcher and put into the back of the side-by-side. Then we started to drive out. As I looked up at the dark blue sky, I kept thinking, where are my parents?
Families and EMS crews kept watch most of the morning for rescuers to emerge with the young boy. Finally, around 11:30 a.m., a caravan of trucks and ATVs appeared. Rescuers say JoJo McCray was tired, cold, and wanted his mom, but otherwise seemed okay. As a precaution, they still strapped him to a stretcher, wrapped him in thermal blankets, and had him taken by ambulance to an area hospital.
Then I saw them. My dad was wearing a brown jacket, and my mom had a pink and black heavy winter coat. They both looked exhausted. I started crying as soon as I saw them. My dad said something to me, but I could not hear him because he lost his voice yelling for me all night. I got put into an ambulance. My parents weren't even allowed to ride with me, just the paramedics. 15 minutes later, we were at the Bennington Hospital. They kept me for about 2 hours and then released me. Luckily, I had no frostbite or any serious injuries. I was finally home. I did not go to school for 3 days. After that, my whole class sent me get well cards. Now that I look back at the experience, I wish I had stayed put. If I had, the searches would not have looked in such a big area for me. I'd like to thank Hooper Pickering and everybody else that searched for me during those 19 hours. I heard that people came from New Hampshire to help. 2 years after that night, I finally went hunting again with just my dad. I was nervous about going out again, but my dad gave me a whistle. That day, we got some squirrels, and I realized that I shouldn't be afraid of the woods.
Joe, we're sure glad that you're back with us, safe and sound. And now let's go to Cooper to learn a bit about the GISP history.
Hi, I'm Cooper Jennings, and today I'm here with a GISP coordinator and an instructor. Her name is Erin Pickering. Erin, are you on the phone?
I am here.
Okay. Can I ask you a few questions about GISP?
Absolutely.
So, I was wondering, you have 2 kids, right?
I do.
Can you tell us their names?
Absolutely. Ethan Pickering, he is in 2nd grade, and Cassie Pickering, and she is in 6th grade.
Do they do GISP?
Cassidy does do GISP. She skis, and Ethan is a snowboarder in the CAP program.
And I heard you just said CAP program.
Correct.
Can you tell us what the CAP program is?
Absolutely. The CAP program is it's a kids alpine program. It's for skiing and snowboarding for children ages 6 through 8, and it's operated through the ski and snowboard school, and it's taught by paid professionals. It's different from the GISP program. GISP, you have to be in 3rd grade to go for that.
And can you tell us the history about GISP?
Sure. GISP was first started in 1951 by Sally Babst, a wife of Fred Babst, who was the first owner of Bromley Mountain. They're both from Manchester. Their vision was to provide local school children with an inexpensive way to learn to ski, and that was their vision. So it's been operating for 65 years.
Okay, and I only have one more question for you.
Sure.
I heard you said Bromley. Is that the mountain that they ski on?
Yes, they ski there. We leave at, kids are dismissed for Arlington on Wednesdays. We're dismissed at noon. Lessons start at 1, and then end at 3, and then from 3 to 4 they get to ski on their own. And it's a 9-week, we get 9 weeks of it. Fortunately, the weather hasn't been very cooperative this year, so we haven't had all 9 weeks where we were able to ski.
Yeah. And thank you, Erin, for doing the phone conference with us.
Great, thank you.
And let's go back to the news desk.
Just was great, Coop. I've been snowboarding for 2 years now, and I love it. Now, Sarah tells us what it means to go sugaring. Sarah's story.
Maple sugaring is a Vermont tradition that dates back to Native Americans. It's still carried on today by many Vermonters. As a matter of fact, Vermont is the largest producer of maple syrup in the country. To make maple syrup, you must have the proper supplies: a boiler, taps, buckets, and lots of sugar maple trees. Also, you must set up your taps and have lots of patience. First, you need to drill a small hole in a sugar maple tree and hammer in a small metal tap. Next, hang a bucket and cover on the tap to collect the maple syrup, or sap. After about 24 hours, you can collect the sap and begin boiling it. It takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. When you are done boiling, usually after many, many long hours, you'll have the tastiest maple syrup. Sugaring season takes place in the spring for around 4 to 6 weeks. When the nights are cold and the days are warm and sunny, the sap starts to flow. Recently, I partnered with Mr. Cummings to participate in this amazing process. It is a fun, time-honored tradition that made me feel like I was going back in time. Let's get back to the news desk.
Thanks, Sarah. I love maple syrup on my pancakes. Thanks for watching. See you in March.